Well, I would like to welcome with great pleasure the Honorable James MacRitchie. We call him Jim. He is a world leader in the field of acupuncture and an incredibly knowledgeable about...
May I edit this, please?
All right, edit away. Edit away.
Jim is just a general Tao guy.
Right. A very fun and loving and wonderful person. He self-published the International Qi Gong Directory in 1995 and created the National Qi Gong Association in the U.S. in 1996. And at one point I read that back in the 1980s when he was practicing Qi Gong and acupuncture in Boulder, Colorado, he was literally the only practitioner. Now there are hundreds of them and there's a licensing and everything. So he really pushed along this whole field in the United States and no doubt elsewhere as well. He has 3 books out on Qi Gong or Qi and a wonderful website, the Global Qi Project. Oksana has put a link to it up in the chat. And the website really explains in a very eloquent and comprehensive manner what the Qi is, how it works, what it's for, and has the 8 extraordinary meridians Qi Gong practices, which I practiced last night with great pleasure. And if we ask nicely, we hope that Jim will lead us in one of them, perhaps smile at yourself or the 6 healing sounds, since we have so many musicians here. Every single person here is a amateur or professional musician. So I think the 6 healing sounds would be very interesting to us all. And then the other aspect of Jim's presence here today is that he's going to tell us about some stories, reminiscences about his time when he was partnered with Anna Wise and in England. And he was actually studying his Qigong, his acupuncture practice at the time. And he and Anna were together for 13 years and parented a wonderful young man, John Wise, and has lots of memories, knows Max. Jeff Blundell was right there at the nexus, the beginning of everything that happened in this work that we do. So we welcome you, we honor you, we thank you for being here, Jim.
Thank you for inviting me.
You know, after Anna had passed on, I stayed in touch because I had been in touch with Anna. We had, communicated for years. In fact, I did a review on her first book, or no, the second book, on Amazon. Anyways, I was grieving for Anna too, and so I said, please, Jim, please keep in touch with me, and if there's any more developments with the work, let me know, because I'd like to be a part of it. And I do believe it was through Jim that I got connected with you, Judy, because I got an email from you, and I was totally delighted. And then when I heard about your contributions to the further development of the Mind Mirror and your books and your CDs, I said, man, this is great. So the rest is history, But that's that nice connection with Jim. I'm really glad to see him.
That's grand. That's grand, Marv. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's so great when we have a rooted history with people and reconnect like this. So much the familiarity of old friends, you just can't beat that. I connected with Jim when I was assisting Anna at Esalen, and he would call her and she would sit there on the phone with him. I would be in the other room gathering materials, getting ready for the trip down to Esalen. And she was talking with him with such great delight. Just the happiest I've ever seen her. They just had such a lifelong, deep connection. And of course, I can say this while he's getting back on Zoom, whatever disconnected him, is that his work influenced Anna to some extent, because she talks about, hi, Jim, glad to have you back.
Technology is wonderful when it works.
I was just, we were reminiscing. Marv was saying that that you were instrumental in his reconnecting or connecting up with the Institute for the Awakened Mind. And I was just saying that I had met you while I was assisting Anna, and that you two would talk on the phone, and this was the happiest I've ever seen Anna. She would just absolutely radiate light. She was so delighted, and you kept her laughing, you know, in those last hard years, very hard years.
That exit was very difficult for her. Shall I just say something about Anna's early days? You know, I met Anna when I was in London, and this would be about 1975. I'd studied with Anna Halprin in San Francisco, who's a dancer. And I'd come back from there, and I'd moved to London. And I was teaching something that I came to call natural dance. Fabulous name. I mean, you know, whatever time and effort and talent and money and everything else you pumped into something, if you didn't have the right name, it wouldn't work. And if you had the right name, it could be terrible the way you did it, but it could be a great success. But we worked hard on the name Natural Dance. And so I went to offer classes at something called the Franklin School of Contemporary Studies in London, and sitting behind the desk on the reception was this absolutely fabulously gorgeous, beautiful, fresh, bright, I mean, radiant young lady. Well, I was a younger man myself then. So she was the one that I was supposed to negotiate with to start dance classes. And she said, oh, I've danced and I'm interested. Oh, maybe I should do your classes. And, you know, and that was Anna. And I have a photograph of her sitting behind the desk before we had any personal connection. I just had a camera and took a picture, which was a nice thing. And so my pickup line to her, which I tried when we were having the first kind of introductory overview at this Franklin school, was something a friend of mine said, well, try this one time. So I tried this and said, well, Anna, I find you very attractive. Why don't we get together, have a couple of children, and then we'll see if we want to like take it from there, you see. And she had this very alarmed look in her eyes, and she backed away slowly with her hand on the doorknob, you know, and said, well, it's been very nice to meet you. And, oh, yes, well, I hope your class goes well. Well, we only had one child, you know, but we were together for 14 years. The first 7 years were in London. And at the time, at the Franklin School, she was studying with Max. And also with Jeff Blundell. Jeff was the guy that made all of the equipment. He was like an electronics wizard genius. And they together designed and built the Mind Mirror. And that was the other major focus of her time and life. And also Elizabeth St. John, who you probably may have had on this program, I believe, you know, was Anna's, at the time, sister-in-law. You know, she'd married Anna's brother, Bill. And so they were sisters-in-law and sisters in spirit, and they were just like, you know, devoted to this work. And so she, we were there for 7 years in London, and she was involved with Max and Jeff, and we were always going out and, you know, going to the Audio Limited and finding equipment and hooking people up and everything. But the main thing that we were doing at the time was running the Natural Dance Workshop, which for some reason I can never understand became hugely successful throughout Europe. So it kept us occupied very much. When we, and Max was, he really was like, you know, I don't know what you call it, a master, in the sense of an enlightened being, in the sense of a Zen master, a sense of someone whose presence radiated such serenity. I mean, you'd just be with Max and everything would just calm down and it would all just It would all be, and he was so, you know, centered. And Izzy, his wife, she was fabulous because she was so lively. She'd just be around all over the place making tea and talking and everything else. And there's Max sitting in the middle of it all. How are you? Oh, you seen the flowers? You know, the whole thing. So it's funny. But, you know, we moved to the United States in 1980. We got married. After 7 years, we thought, oh, well, you know, let's get married and have children. And so to the United States, but we were only supposed to do 1 year. It was just a sabbatical. We went to Boulder in Colorado. And her parents lived in the next town called Golden. You know, it's like half an hour little drive along a beautiful road and stuff. And she'd gone to the high school in this next town. And so she had old friends there, and she'd done the university there. And so I started an acupuncture practice, and we didn't do natural dance for various reasons. We thought we were going to take that. But she started to teach the Awakened Mind program. And, you know, I don't know whether anyone was ever on site. I did actually see this like 2 days before. But did you ever see the space shuttle take off? That was what happened with Anna and the Awakened Mind program. She just had vertical takeoff. I mean, there were people that they couldn't believe what she was doing and saying. There was the Biofeedback Society of America, I think it was, whatever their names were. But there was like this whole Emma and Alice Green were involved in the Biofeedback Society of America, and Carol, somebody or other, and Ed, and you know, they had this whole organization, national, and they just loved her. They just took her on board from like the moment she got off the plane, because she was talking about biofeedback, not to measure your physiological functions, your blood pressure, your this, that, the other. She was talking about consciousness. And nobody else was kind of doing that. They hadn't got there, and the brain waves, and I mean the whole thing, and we created something called the Evolving Institute. I always like that name. There's like 6 or 7 jokes in the Evolving Institute. Number one, institute don't evolve. That's why they're institutes. You get it? Institutionalized. Anyway, was the Evolving Institute, a Center for Personal and Social Evolution. Not nice? Yeah. Sounds good, isn't it? A Center for Personal Social, except that over the course of 7 years or so, it devolved.
How?
Well, Anna went that way and I went that way. Oh. You see. Or she went that way and I went that way, or something, you know. She became, whereas we thought we'd been working together for 7 years, co-leading, finishing each other's sentences, you know, just passing it backwards and forwards. She got so successful with her work, and I was like, I was just focused on the acupuncture and the Qi Gong, and we just went in different directions, you know. By that time, we had this young baby, little baby, that we kept us connected. You know, if you get divorced, you just go separate ways, but if you've got a child or children, you stay, you have to, you know. So we went in different directions, and she just kept going. I was like, how you doing, Anna? Yeah, okay. She went global. I mean, she went all over the world. She was teaching, you know, the leaders of international corporations and stuff. I mean, and all of the programs from San Francisco she moved to. So I think Then she put those 2 books out, which was just fabulous. And I think that's where, on Esalen Institute, there's one thing I would say about Anna's work is she was in every catalogue of the Esalen Institute. They put 3 catalogues a year out for like, I lost count, 20 years. And that's because the class is filled. People, if your classes didn't fill, you didn't get in the next catalogue, you know. I mean, you had to have a successful enough class. And she just kept going and going and going and going. And what a wonderful platform. And maybe that's where you come in, Jude, so you take it from there.
Well, do I remember that you used to call her Anna Banana?
Only on certain occasions. I had other names for her as well, depending on the occasion and circumstance. But yeah, Anna Banana. It sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I didn't know that I'm sure other people have questions, but I didn't know that she had worked with Elmer and Alice Green, who were the only other people in the United States who were working with consciousness at the time.
I'm not sure she worked directly with them, but the Biofeedback Society of America became something else. It transformed into, does anybody remember what this was? ISM, Institute for the IIISEEM.
Right, right.
Remember that?
Yeah, vaguely. And then another question that I have.
Energy medicine, they converted it, they just changed the name and they got into Institute for the International Institute for the Investigation of Energy Medicine or something.
Yeah.
And so I don't think Anna even read the brainwaves of Elmer Green, but he was like the head of the or he was the figurehead, you know. Lovely man.
And she was literally, besides them, the only person working with consciousness. And, you know, that is still kind of the case. I mean, these days, more neurofeedback people are looking at meditation and consciousness, and even some neuroscientists working with, like, the Mind and Life Institute and the IONS. But still, it's taken a really long time. So she was quite the pioneer here in the U.S. and such an intrepid explorer that she went with the corporations and had so many adventures all around the world. So yeah, I can see where she would have taken off like a rocket. But also, Jim, I know that that your work with Qi and acupuncture was very much interwoven with her work, and because she has a meditation called the Orbit, because she called herself a Taoist, perceived of herself as a Taoist, and was very much attuned to subtle energies. And I even know that back when you had the natural dance workshop, she used some awakened mind. She told me once that she had used some awakened mind concepts to help people access creative states in order to be better dancers. I wonder if you can say anything about that.
Well, I mean, we ran dance workshops, and there was nobody else involved, so there were no committees, no curriculums, no boards you had to answer to, you know, no managers or anything. So we just do whatever we wanted to do. And obviously she would talk about the awakened mind. If we did a weekend workshop somewhere and we were working at a place, Andrea, do you know a place called Zist in Munich? Z-I-S-T, Zist. Is it still there? No. Wolf Buntig. You don't know the name Wolf Buntig?
No.
Oh, well, it was in Munich, and they had this whole center, and we'd go there like 3 times a year, and we'd do Holland and other countries, you know. So it was all kind of, in a weekend workshop, you could do whatever you wanted to do. long as people liked it and kept coming back, that's all you needed.
Yeah.
And so she'd talk about the awakened mind and sometimes take equipment, and I'd talk about acupuncture. Well, what was interesting is we were involved in all these different styles and forms and possibilities of dance and movement and solos and the whole group and, you know, the whole thing. And I'm talking about the energy system and acupuncture and how all that works. I did not know the word Qi Gong. It had never entered my ear.
Wow.
After 6 years in acupuncture school in England, the word had never been spoken that I registered. I mean, what's interesting about that is I was actually doing it, but no one had, I didn't know that I was doing it.
Yeah.
All the movements and stuff. Weird, isn't it? Yeah.
I wonder, before we go on to the subject of Qi, if anybody else has any questions about your time with Anna or anything that they want to ask.
Did anybody meet Anna? Did you know Anna?
Was that Jim?
Did you meet Anna? Did you know Anna?
I did correspondence with her by email.
Oh, right.
And yeah, so we had a nice communication going for a few years.
Oh,
Her
yeah.
and her assistant too when she was in Esalen, you know.
Right.
So.
And I know that Jim Henry, like so many other people, had it in his mind with a friend of his to go to California and study with Anna, but never got there. And I hear this story quite often, you know, of people's regret that they didn't act on that impulse to go right then and meet her.
Jim, had Anna recorded any of your brain waves at any time?
Good question.
You talking about me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's Jim Henry. I didn't know whether you were talking to Jim Henry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It was usually just a flat line as far as I remember.
Flat line.
We kept trying, you know. I mean, you know, it comes a point where... No, I think that I have incorporated the teachings in the sense that when I teach my classes, and the style of Qi Gong is called Negong. There's two styles of Qi Gong. I don't know whether people know this, but there's called Negong or Hui Gong. And Hui Gong is all the external forms, all the things, you know, swimming dragons and 8 pieces of this, that, and golden bells and you know, animal frolics. And I mean, all of the things that you see visually, all the external movements, that's called Hui Gong, which means external practice. And what I do is Negong, it's N-E-I, and it means internal. So it is very, very much meditation. I do not do a lot of external form. I mean, I've learned some, I know some, etc., etc. So this is how my Qigong is practiced. I'll see if I can get a little bit more distance and you can see. If you were looking to practice Qigong, this is how it's practiced. Ready? I demonstrated that once on a TV show in New York. A woman said, "Oh, so show us some Qigong." So I just sat there and said, "Oh, fine, yeah." So, and I just sat there and closed my eyes and meditated and counted to 10. And I woke up and she was sweating. You know, it was like, what can you do something? Like, move. I mean, can you move? Just messing with you. Look, the internal practice is very much internal meditation. It's called Taoist yoga or Taoist meditation, if you like. There's various names for it. There are 3 important distinctions that I've recently become aware of. There's Qigong, which would be spelled Qi-Gong. There's Neigong, Neigong. And then there's Neidan, D-A-N, Neidan. Now, some people define it as Qi Gong is all the external movement. Neigong is all the internal movement. And Neidan is what they call inner alchemy training. Neidan is going into the deepest level of the central channel and the three Tantian, and kind of this starts to be very, very relevant to what you're doing in your work. I'm going to give you a quick flash here of, if I can find this picture, because there's a picture here from a book I've been reading recently. And tell me what you think of this in relationship to the Awakened Mind program. What that is doing is illustrating the relationship of the advanced level Neidan practices to our good old favorite, all-time champion, the pineal gland. So when you get into this higher level of the Neidan practice, what you're doing is, increasing and accentuating. In my way of thinking, it just juices up and strengthens the pineal gland. You see, there's these three illustrations that we were looking at. Jude, I don't know whether you've got them. I can just, people can get them later, but these are three illustrations of what I think is going on. This is my book, which is available free on the internet. You just go to the website, the Personal Energy Center. It's called The Adventures of an Acupuncturist, but more seriously, it's a clinical autobiography. It's everything that I learned, borrowed, developed, ripped off, invented, learned, whatever, of over 35 years in practice using Qi Gong and acupuncture. And this is on the site, and you can just download it free. So inside this are three illustrations. This is from ancient China. This is from the Neijing II, which is like from the 7th century. And they have described, this is just the top part of the head. Now, if you scroll down a little bit, Jude, what I did is I made a book, which is not on the internet, where I translated all of the Chinese from 6 different sources, 6 different authorities. Now, come down a little bit. So this is what the translations are of those points in those areas called the Mountain of 9 Peaks, 9 Sacred Realms, the Immortal Realm, the Numerous Platform, Obscure Spirit's Altar, High Place of Many Veils, the Mysterious Vault of the Jade Emperor's Palace. But this is also called the Upper Tantian, the Upper Elixir Field. And in the Chinese system, they are called the 3 treasures, the 3 Tantian, Jing, Qi, and Shen. But this is the Upper Tantian, and it houses what they call the Shen, which is consciousness. So that is their version. Now, if you scroll up to the next page, Judy, please. Okay. Now, this is just a cross-section of the main points from an acupuncture point of view, a side view of the head. There are no other points except there may be some extra points or master points, whatever. But generally, if you see on the very, very top, it says GV24, GV23. That's the governor versal. And then the fainter line says BL3, BL4. That's the bladder line. And then GB, that's the gallbladder. And all I did was to look at what points are on the side of the head. If you scroll down a little bit, Jude. So these are the acupuncture points, and they're the various 3 different descriptions of the names, brain's door, 100 meeting, posterior summit, skull meeting, eyes bright, etc., etc. Now, if you go up to the next page, please, Judy.
I'm concerned about the gate of dumbness. How do you avoid that? Don't go through that door.
Now, if we look at this, what you see is what we know now to be a cross-section of this human brain. And if you look at that whole base structure, I mean, that's called the upper dantian, the upper elixir field, right? And I mean, look at all the stuff in there. It's packed with all kinds of things. Well, importantly, if you looked at like where 3 o'clock would be on a clock face, it says the pineal body, and you go straight in. That's the pineal gland.
Teeny
And then you've also got the pituitary down at about 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
The pituitary gland, and how that is, you know, in close relationship with all of these. I mean, wonderful, isn't it? Where do they make these things? It's incredible. All that comes from one cell. Amazing. But what we're saying here is the relationship of all of that to the, particularly in my mind, to gamma frequency. Judy, you told me you've just got the villus that can read gamma. Do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, we added 2 extra bands of gamma. A lot of people say that gamma, it actually extends from 20, 25 to 100 hertz. Some people say 30 to 100. We had in the classic mind mirror, our topmost band was 38 to 44. So we were looking at some gamma and not calling it gamma, we called it beta. But then when I started working with Steve Clark, the first thing I said was, let's add some gamma. So we've got 2 bands now, one from 44 to 54 and another from 54 to 64, which is about as high as you can reliably look at gamma because of interference with mains electricity. But yeah, so what about, can I ask you the pineal body? The main thing I know about the pineal is that it's where we experience light. How do
that plays into some stuff that I'm kind of now getting information on, because there's very, very little written and available information on the higher level internal practices in English. Now, I mean, I'm putting that in the context of having, you know, originated the National Qi Gong Association in the United States, which has got like some 400 or 500 members all over the country, but all of the top kind of people, well, at least, you know, a majority of the major guys like Roger Yankee and Michael Wynn and Solala Towler and Francesco Garipoli and Damaris Jarbo and all those people, right? They didn't have this information.
All right.
So this guy has just put this book out. It's called White Moon on the Mountain Peak. His name's Damo Mitchell, D-A-M-O. His name was Damien, so they abbreviated it to Damo Mitchell. And he's that little illustration I was showing you, where it makes perfect sense to me that if you are doing these advanced level practices, you see, so what you're doing, I can't point to this, if you look at that illustration, there's a point that goes from here to here.
Okay.
You see that? Right. This is called Yin Tang, the upper channel. This is the base of the skull. And as you bring in the Qi in, you open these, and then there's the top one, which is the top that's going right through the central channel, called the Chong Mo, or the thrusting channel. And where they intersect, that's to say where this is coming down, and these intersect, and probably from here to here, all of that is that center called the upper dantian, the upper elixir field. And so when I look at this guy saying, well, in these, because he's just, this is all he's ever done, and he's trained with some very advanced level people in China and beyond. But when he says, what we're doing is increasing the energy that's coming in at this point, and that channel is called the heavenly eye, and the channel directly back is the bright hall. And then the series of concentric circles where it gets kind of more intense. The more practice you do, the more Qi that you can take in. Now, you got to go through the whole thing to bring in the Qi, but here's the levels: 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. You know, things go in 7. The outer level, I'll read out the names for them. Divine brightness. Next, shining pearl. Next, heaven's court. Next, purple palace. Next, heaven's treasure. Next, shining spirit. And last, dark mother. And what he's saying here is that as you increase the ability in advanced level practices to strengthen that center, he's actually literally saying it is the pineal gland. It's called the mud pill palace, the pineal gland. I mean, he's not like saying it's somewhere in the lower brain. So my statement with that is, because I mean, I think this is important for a number of reasons, but one is the fact that we are about to get hit by a freaking tidal wave of Alzheimer's and degeneration, you know, because the whole society is getting older. And well, wouldn't it be good if there were ways, and you're looking at this from another point of view, but wouldn't it be great if there were just ways to stop that from happening?
Yeah, you know, Jim, you and I were talking the other night, and you were explaining to me about Gong, and I was saying that Qi Gong has always been very difficult for me because I have problems in my spine, and one little teeny tiny move wrong, and I'm in trouble for weeks. But Gong, being this sitting practice, is really exciting and welcoming to me as a way of managing Qi while you're actually sitting in meditation. And of course, it requires attentional awareness, which increases your meditation practice. And of course, it's going to increase your Qi. And what you said the other night that really excited me, and John Farron is a medical doctor, and I think Peter Marshner is going to review this, at least also another medical doctor. You were telling me that that placing the mind on the Qi and moving the Qi actually moves the blood and the fluids in the body, which ultimately affect the cells and the tissues and the organs and all the systems. So this potential healing ability of this Gong is incredibly exciting. Certainly it's affecting your ability. Well, I mean, I guess this is a central question here for our awakened mind practitioners and self-trainers on this program with us, is how, what is the relationship between the awakening the mind to higher states, and even potentially that circle you showed us on that pictogram, the evolved mind, and increases in the Qi. So how do those correspond, or can you say something about that?
The more energy, the more life. The better your energy, the better your life. This is one of the things that I had written in trying to describe what happens with the upper ten chin. I said, The microcosmic orbit meditation and Qi Gong practice may contribute to healthy function of the human brain. It may help offset such degenerative conditions as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. After all, you're not going to get very big, juicy, healthy tomatoes from your tomato plants if they don't get enough water. It's the same with the brain and Qi, blood, and fluids. Obviously, scientific and medical research needs to be done, but in the meantime, while you're waiting for the official results to be approved and published, try it and see for yourself. Qi Gong may become a gold standard for helping prevent such conditions and for correct functions of our brains, our minds, and our consciousness. Now, I incorporate this in the initial meditations that I do, the Awakened Mind Principles. Just in the first beginning of a class, adjust your body, adjust your breathing, adjust your mind. They're called the 3 adjustments. And as for adjusting the mind, I go through and turn off the beta and increase the alpha and, talk about it's just like part of my everyday life. Because, just the ability to turn things on and off and have control over them. But I think that the gamma is definitely to do with what's going on between there. And the stronger that is, I think that the principle is simply this, that the Qi, the way it works on a biological level, is that the Qi energy moves the blood and the fluids. Yeah. That's a direct relationship. If you've got the Qi stagnant or empty or blocked or overactive, well, what's going to happen? You're going to get the blood is going to get stuck there, or there won't be any blood going there, and the blood's feeding the cells. And all I'm doing in my clinical practice, which is most of my working day, is, I've seen patients kind of across the board in every age and shape and size, and I'm doing this all day long, sometimes. But all I'm trying to do is to get the energy system functioning correctly so that it's got the right balance, free flow, quality, volume, and proper relationship. And that amounts to correct function. All of that's in the book, which you can just download anytime, when we get off this if you want. I've tried to explain all of that. But the Qi moves the blood and fluids. The blood and fluids feed the cells. The cells make up the tissues. The tissues create the organs and functions, and all of that creates one whole. That's common. That is understood in the field of acupuncture. But where Qi Gong comes in is this, and this is like really right in I'm throwing the ball back to you here. The mind moves the Qi. In Qi Gong, the mind moves the Qi. And that program that's further down on my website, that's called The Whole Thing, that's the 8 Extraordinary Meridians training program. You can download that. It's free. And there are all the audio tracks, as if you're sitting in a class and going through each class. And, all of that is just, it's all there. I hope that proves useful, but it's helped. Apparently, it works. My role in this, you're always trying to figure out, where do I fit in the big picture, and blah. But my role in this, I think, is to just try and take this incredible information and convert it into simple, straightforward, common language that everybody can understand. Because when you're talking the Chinese, it's like, that's it, the bamboo curtain comes down. Nobody can make the sense of the Chinese. So I'm straddled between the Chinese and the English and trying to just, my sense of this, the example of it in my own everyday practical survival reality, was to name the centre I've just opened in Liverpool, because I was in Boulder and I've just moved back here, and I've opened a centre, and the name of the centre is not the Qi Gong School of Liverpool, the name of the center is the Personal Energy Center. It's English. People understand it. If you take those two words, personal, which is in every language, and energy, and you glue them together, it's a truism. Everyone knows immediately what you're talking about. If you say Kong Ching Chong Chong Kong, what's that called? I can't remember. You know, I'll just say that, and it begins with the Q, and there's no U behind it. It's like, you know, madness. Personal energy. And I have a one-man mission. I'm going to launch a one-man human wave assault on the National Health Service in England, the NHS, which takes 18% of the gross national product. I'm going to launch, I am in the middle of launching this, this effort to get them to redefine the middle initial. You have a problem if the thing you're trying to do, you have not defined correctly. You cannot define the word health if you do not include personal energy into the picture. I mean, this is critical. This is about relieving human suffering. People are dying. Thousands and thousands of people are dying because they don't know what I know, and they don't know what to do that I do. It's just in these books that are available for free. So my challenge to the National Health Service and the British government and the European Council and the World Health Organization is get the definition right, include personal energy.
Yeah.
That's the control system, and that's the blueprint that makes it all work. Mm-hmm. So I am a living example, you see. I've had this from a number of different authorities, a number of different people, like my doctor and a couple of other people. I'm 69 years old. I am 69 years old. Most people only think I'm 68.
They're muted, or you would hear a lot of people laughing.
But all I can say is, you know, this is all available. You can go get it. It's like if you go into the National Qi Gong Association website, it's www.nqa.org. Couldn't be simpler. nqa.org. You will enter into a magic window, and inside there you will find at least 100 other websites of people who have devoted their lives to this work, and there's no end to it, and it is wonderful and beautiful. And so, to me, the best life-affirming thing that I've ever seen, apart from the Institute of the Awakened Mind.
Wonderful. And, you know, Jim, I just want to say thank you again publicly for the hard work that you put into culling through Anna's tens of thousands of emails and finding the contact details for practitioners and people interested in the work.
11,000 emails she didn't know how to delete. 11,000 emails.
And, you know, this institute is only possible because you did that, and that, you know, created a basis for me to network people through into the institute. And, you know, this is what's going to keep the work going. And Andrea and people like Andrea, who has stepped forward to record Anna's unrecorded meditations, and Max is also, and is creating this Mind Surfer media, and really going to record the meditations in other languages as well. So, you know, we have a real, I guess, a phoenix situation. This whole thing could have stayed in the ashes, but for that impetus you gave us at the very beginning to enable us to rise and keep going. And
John and I promised Anna when she was in the final stages in the hospital, she wasn't even able to speak anymore. I wasn't there in person because it was just going on and on, but John and I promised her we would do this.
Wonderful. And you did.
And what she said, I said, what happened when you said that to her, John? Because you must know she had MS and it was just, everything was just shutting down, and she ended up in the hospital in Monterey. And I said, what happened afterwards, John, when you said that? He said, she kind of mouthed, thank you. And then this great relief came over her, and she was able to just let go. And she's on your board of trustees, is she? She's like on the non-material kind of immortal board of trustees, along with Max and stuff that you check in with periodically. Is that right?
Well, I loved it when Isabel passed over last fall, and Jim and I talked on the phone, and he says, well, I guess now this means that Isabel and Max and Anna are all up there brainwaving God. And I don't know if she's brainwaving God, but I can tell you she's still very present in this work. Andrea heard from her directly. Oksana, did you hear from her directly? I don't remember about that. I mean, she just gets around. The latest was a woman named Cindy Margritz, and she's a neurofeedback therapist who, just while doing her work one day, very clearly in her ear, out of nowhere, heard Anna say, will you carry on my work for me? And she's in the neurofeedback field, and so she subsequently went to a gigantic conference in Greece and demonstrated the mind mirror, and she's become a neurofeedback speaker, for Anna for this work. And Anna sent somebody to me for help with her gamma, gave her my name in a dream. And the stories just go on and on. She's still very, very present in this work. And I'm sure Max is too.
Judy, if you were not the quarterback that I could have passed this to, this would have just disappeared. And you deserve absolute and complete, acknowledgement, recognition, and credit for picking this up. And now Oksana and Andrea, and I don't know the other people's level, but how wonderful. I am so appreciative, grateful, thankful, that you are carrying this on, this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful work. So
thank you.
This is what they do in the Tao system. Now, you have to be very careful, because if you do it the wrong way around, like this, it's a challenge to a fight to the death.
Oh, well, no. Which goes on the bottom?
I've forgotten now. So sit down and see what happens. The right hand goes inside the left hand, and you do a bow.
I have so many wonderful questions for you about inside your book. You write some really great things. So Jim, if you can hang on just a little bit, I just wanted to clarify something about the Qi. I understand what you said, we understand about the mind moving the Qi to move the blood, the lymph, and power up, I suppose, the system with the natural Qi that's within us and within all things. And then certainly it would be an awakening experience to do these practices because of the attentional awareness that's involved in them. And also, the connection. I mean, the awakened mind can be self-healing and self-evolving, but only if it's in touch with, you know, the multiple realities that are this field of infinite awareness, this universal awareness. And certainly these practices, your 8 extraordinary practices, and they are 8 extraordinary meridians Qi Gong. They are extraordinary. I practiced the smile last night and the 6 healing sounds, and woo, really you could feel the subtle energies move and my body charge up. So here's the question. You write in your book the different uses of Qigong and the medical and so forth, but then you get to 3 more. One is extraordinary human abilities, another spiritual development, another immortality. Of the extraordinary human abilities, you say that that the use of Qigong will help people operate at a higher level than normal sensory perceptions and experience, and perceive at a broader, higher, and finer levels so that we can tune our sensory apparatus to higher frequencies. Now, of course, we're all interested in gamma here for lots of different reasons, mostly because it is tuning to higher frequencies and higher levels of consciousness. And then of the spiritual development, you say that in order to cultivate the spirit body, Taoist monks refine and purify their bodies, thereby raising their energy bodies to a higher frequency and volume. And then under immortality, you say that...
Are you reading from my book?
I am.
Oh, okay.
You say that the immortality, the practice, the procedure for attaining immortality is condensing the energy body into a pearl, which then enters into the immortal realm. And so my question is, do these things naturally occur with the 8 extraordinary meridians Qigong or Qigong practices, or are these more of these esoteric, would those things happen with more esoteric things than we have access to, since these practices were so secret in China for so long? Can we attain immortality if we do your 8 extraordinary practices? And will it help us evolve awareness into, say, the evolved mind or the gamma mind or higher states?
I think the immortality thing is the advanced level. I'll be starting next year. I think we'll sell group tickets, you know. They have different categories of immortals in the Taoist system, and Roger Yankee had a great listing of that. But there's a sense of an immortal where your reputation continues. This is why people put their names on streets or buildings or cities or whatever. You know, they become immortal in that sense. And there's an immortal in the sense of staying healthy as you get older. You know, just that Master Duan is 93 years old, and oh, we need to tell you to look at the video Qi Gong. What was it called? Qi Gong for the 21st century?
Yes.
Did you get that?
I haven't downloaded it yet, but yeah, that's what you told me the name was.
Did you get the link for it that you could send to people?
Yeah, and I'll copy it and put it in the chat.
My pal Francesco Garipoli, went to China for 2 years. He was taken with him a camera. He was already a director and producer for PBS, public television in the United States. So he knew what he was doing. And he just traveled around and filmed everything. And he put it together into this 1-hour video that was astounding. It's astounding. It tells you the whole story from one into, I mean, it's brilliant. And it's called Qi Gong, something healing for the 21st century. And Jude's got the link, and it's free, and you can just download it and watch it. And it's great. I mean, you used to have to send letters and things and packages and stuff. But please watch that. Put an hour aside and watch this, because it tells you what's going on in China. So that and the National Qi Gong Association, and that'll give you a very good overview of things, I think. The thing about the immortality training, all of this might be legend, mightn't it? Because no one's ever seen it. They didn't come back. When those monks disappear, they don't kind of come back. But this is the picture that they have in this book. This is a very old picture. It's called The Egress. And if you can see, there's the practitioners sitting there, and the energy pearl leaves via the pineal gland, the upper dantian, through the Bahui point, and enters into the immortal realm. That sounds cool, right? But what he says, that's what I'm going for. He says immortals, there are 4 different kinds of immortals: earthly immortals, ghost immortals, spiritual immortals, and heavenly immortals. This is the description of heavenly immortals. There's the book. White Moon on the Mountain Peak, Damo Mitchell. Damo Mitchell. You can tell I've done this before because I know how to move it around the picture, right? This is what he says: heavenly immortals are those who are said to have truly attained immortality. They purified the true consciousness and freed themselves from the bondage of Xing and Ming, 2 different kinds of energy. After a long life of vibrant health and wisdom, they fully attained the golden embryo and move into the various levels of the immortal realm, free from the cycle of rebirth. Very few are said to have attained this level of skill. So, I don't know. Sounds good to me.
It reminds me of the secret of the golden flower.
That's the Taoist text describing these practices.
Yes, yes. And that one was a breath where you breathe in, breathe from the root upward on the inhale, and then hold the breath on the third eye, and then let it, and what they said was that if you practice this sort of breathing, that you would be able to purify your physical body to the point where you would move into the energy body. I don't remember the term they used, but then you would be able to dematerialize and rematerialize. That seemed awfully simple practice to get all of that benefit out of it. But I guess a central question here is the basic premise that if you do this Neigong, this what you called it, you had a nice word, inner alchemy, practice, like the 8 that you have there, is the supposition that you are purifying and refining attention and awareness and the physical body to such an extent that it will raise your frequencies of vibration, tune you to higher frequencies, and give you access to these levels of higher consciousness. Is that the basic premise here?
I am going to basically throw it back at you and ask you to go and do research on gamma and try and see how that fits with what I've been discussing, because you have ways of measuring it. Right?
You're right.
You've got a way of monitoring it. I got a way of measuring the energy system through pulse reading.
Okay, so this is our challenge then.
Well, I mean, you've got the equipment to actually,
you're right,
put this together, and why wouldn't you? What else are you going to do? I mean, you get to a point where, going down the clubs, it's all right, getting down rock and roll bands and stuff like that. But I mean, you're all practitioners looking at what these potentials are.
That's right.
All I have, I'm trying to find out what the map is. I've come across this book from this guy, which is the first time there's been a kind of a coherent map which aligns with what I've been practicing and teaching. Now, here's the complication with it. When I'm reading his book, and he's very rigorous and very pedantic and very, you know, this is the way it is done. You do not do it this way. Very, you know, disciplined. And yet he's saying, well, when you get to this thing and when you get to that, and then finally, when you reach these higher levels, you will start reaching these practices and stuff. And I look at it and go, hang on, that's what I teach in stage 4 of my classes. What I think has happened is that I got very advanced level practices very early on from high level people. I mean, going to China in 93, being stuck in a corridor opposite some Tibetan guy who was giving you his Qi and sending photon torpedoes across, and you know, having a dozen different Chinese guys say, oh, I give you some Qi. Oh, I do this for you. Boom, you stand there. And it's like, so I think that it's not a straight line of you just do it this way, because you can do it all kinds of different ways. But the fact is that if you intersect here and here on the central channel at the base of that, you know, bunch of tomatoes at the base of the brain, and that particular golden bell of the pineal gland, go on, you know, I'd be interested to know. Let me know what you get up to. Keep me plugged in. What you should do, Judy, you want some stories, you should get John on here.
Oh, yeah?
John would be good. John's our son, Anna and I son. John's, he's already there. He was born there. We got this photograph of him, like when he came back from the hospital. He's like, you know, 4 days old, and he's got his brain wired up, and Anna's like trying to read his brain. Little kids kind of, what the fuck? But John would be of interest, I'm sure, because, you know, if it wasn't for John, it was the both of us that, you know, put this together and passed it on. And thank you so much, Judy, for everything that you have done.
I can't imagine it having been any other way. It was just all supposed to be just as it is.
I would like each person to go through and just make any comment, if you would, please, of what I've said, what that has meant for you, and just kind of, there's enough of us here, there's like, you know, 4 or 5. Would you just give me a little feedback, Andrea? What does this make sense to you?
It totally makes sense to me. And I'm very glad to get in contact to you, to hear you speaking about Anna and about the work you were doing together. And it's really a pleasure to meet you. And I think I'll download the books immediately and try them maybe tomorrow to do all the exercises. Maybe we could have a link to all your audios or videos, and also offer the books on your website. That could be.
There's some guy did this in California on something called Scribed, and he gave other people's things away free in order to attract them to later on buy some of the things he'd done. The last time he looked, 9,000 people had downloaded my book from his website. I mean, it's out there. Once you let that bird free, it can go anywhere. And I think that is what's going to be the saving of the planet, because, you know, people can get it. You can, but I'd be interested if you have any feedback from the program, because all the audios are there, please, you know, my email's there. Let me know how you do. Marvin, how did you do? Any comment of what we've talked about here?
Yes, I did download the smiling meditation, and I found it very pleasant. I'm definitely going to go into all your material and download it, and I really, really appreciate that you're offering that for free. You know, I mean, that's tremendous. You know, it's a gift.
You can move a lot of product if you give it away free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure it will.
I've done Qi Gong, Tai Chi, and Tao Yin, and all those things, but they've withered on the wayside. So you've rekindled my interest in Qi. I'll certainly be downloading all your information and working with it. And thanks very much for sharing it.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah, Jim, I really appreciate it. I've done Qi Gong more in the outer, studying with briefly with the Shaolin monks, so doing some Qi Gong in the outer forms. And I really appreciate, like, a few things that you said really struck me quite significantly. Like, one was, you know, the more energy, the more life, the better the energy, the better the life. Like, that's, it's just simple but profound. And this notion of needing to define personal energy, like, that really struck me as well, like taking out the kind of the Chinese bewildering concepts and speaking in a way that really, I guess, you know, people really get. And that really hit home for me. And I've often, with my wife, we've talked about chi centers or key centers, and the notion of personal energy and speaking in the way that the Western mind gets it in a deep way, just that also really got me. So, and the other one was like the chi moves the blood feeds the cells, and the mind moves the chi. Like that, just again, very profound. So thank you, Jim. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. I mean, I just see that this is the kind of only thing of interest to me, to try and unravel all of this incredibly, fabulously wonderful information from the whole history and culture of the Taoist practice and the Buddhists, you know, I mean, and the Tibetans, but how do we get that into the West? That's the issue, because it's a matter of translation. And you know, what we found that was like both appalling and very curious is when we created the National Qigong Association. Like, I was the guy that kicked the ball to start the game, but a lot of other people joined in. What you would see happen, and this was in the US, right? It wasn't over here. What you would see happen a great deal is that the guys that got the Qi moving and were teaching and leading groups and writing books, what they started to do is they started to put on the Chinese gear, the Chinese clothes. They started to, like, you know, act like they were Chinese. Some of them adopted Chinese names. And it was like, instead of taking that stuff and getting it out to the people on the streets, brother, let's start the revolution, you know, what they did is they became pretend Chinamen, superstars. You know, they started, and it was like, hang on, pal, wrong direction. We're not doing that. We're doing this. You know, it's kind of like, so the ability, I think, I just couldn't be more excited about having found that name, personal energy. I said to somebody who was training with me, and she said, oh, this is fabulous. Oh, I've got to do this. I'm going to teach people. I want to learn it. Oh, I love this Qigong. This is in Liverpool. And this woman's a jazz singer. She's like a jazz diva. I mean, people, she's won national awards, you know, so she's very able to put it out there, and she can take over and stuff. And I said, Suryo, take a little, pad, a notebook, and I'd like you to go to the corner of the street, which is like Times Square from where my office is. There's a lot of traffic, all kinds of people, tourists, students, street people, just hipsters. And they're all milling around. I said, I'd like you to go up to the first 20 people that you meet and say, excuse me, sir or madam, I'd like to talk to you about Qi Gong. I said, my prediction is that what's going to happen is they're going to get a very nervous look in their eye, want to reach in their pocket, give you some spare change and get away as fast as possible. This is a very elegant, beautiful woman, but I said, now I'd like you to take it to another 20 people and say, excuse me, sir or madam, I'd like to talk to you about your personal energy. My prediction is they're going to say, oh, I wanted to talk about that. Have you got a few minutes? Can I buy you a coffee? That's wonderful. And all you do is you translate the name into the language because, and so we'll see what happens. There's Oksana.
Yes, Jim, it was really amazing, I don't know, to meet you, to know you virtually. And my personal feeling is that it's not the end of it. I really feel like we should continue doing something together, do some research, I don't know, test your meditations with Mind Mirror and see if it does, get some people who are, I don't know, good, who are beginners to test if this will develop their gamma. And it would be really nice maybe even to do some practical exercises together online. That's what I feel like, because I feel like continuing. I feel like the thirst and appetite just building up. And then we are going to end this session soon.
Isn't this very strange and bizarre? We started off in 1981 creating the Evolving Institute in Boulder, Colorado to combine biofeedback, and the mind mirror with Qi Gong and acupuncture, and it all and here we are doing it online. How amazing. Is that funny? There's a gentleman here on the screen, John Farron. Are you muted? Are you listening, John?
Yes, of course. Yeah. My story is kind of odd, given you were in Boulder all this time. I crossed paths with Mantak Cha in 1980 in Denver while I was trading. And of course, he was totally incomprehensible in terms of understanding his talk. But actually, I've worked with Michael Wynn over the last 10, 15 years, 10 of which have been internal alchemy. So I think all of what you're doing is fabulous. I also, that's the Healing Tao tradition, which some of you folks may know. But Michael, I know, knows you because he's recommended your older books and so forth. And I just want to throw out, though, you all are talking a great deal about gamma. I think from a practical point of view, I think there's a lot to be said about exploring the domain of delta. My own view is that as a physician, where we connect on the nonverbal level is probably more reflected in delta. And my rationale, of course, I always get into these because I'm trained in the medical, reductionistic, materialistic, Western medical thing. I tend to look at the, read in that domain, but also look at the alternative. And I like to cite Karl Pribram. Many of you may know Karl Pribram from his work as a neurosurgeon exploring the anatomy of brain. But one of Karl's comments, he was on the stage with the fella who created Neuroptimal, which is a bilateral brain synchronization program I've mentioned. He said, well, after all this, we really don't know whether these brain waves are causal or they're a reflection of what's going on And when you say the mind moves the Qi in that realm, if you will, in that worldview, in that cosmology, mind can become very poorly defined as a language, as a word. But I think consciousness, something, what we all are, where we all are one, the oneness is reflected by delta, and I think that is the connection. And of course, I've done Tai Chi and Qi Gong practice myself daily for 35, 40 years. So I can't recommend it more highly to anybody else on the program. So that's kind of and I live in Golden, by the way. I live west of Golden with the hills.
Oh, you live in Golden?
Yes.
That's where Anna went to school, Golden High School.
Yeah, my kids too.
Oh man, I would have.
That for a small world.
We were in the same room together when Mantak Chia came in. I was on it like a dog on a bone, you know. I mean,
well, do you have his old VHS tapes where he's talking about the spinal flow? You can hardly understand what the hell he's saying.
No, he was the guy that brought it across, wasn't he? And Gunther Weil.
Yes.
Michael Wynn and Gunther Weil.
Well, Michael did all the editing early on, about a half dozen, 8 books, I think.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm sort of inspired, Judith. I don't know whether I have the time, but one of these years it'd be fun to take. Michael puts on, and the Healing Tao Bunch put on a summer camp with a lot of courses, and I've threatened to bring the mind mirror and hook everybody up one week while they're doing one of his inner alchemy courses.
I'll do that. If you could get Michael Wynn wired up on the mind mirror, would you be able to turn down the volume and the kind of level of his, just so that he would think and speak like a normal person? Would that be possible?
Well, I just want to see what he's like, what's reflected, if there's anything there when he's in his big Qi field.
I mean, Michael and I have such a relationship that if we turn up at the conference, they put us in the same room together, like what's it called? We're roommates. So that's not necessarily a sensible thing, but I'm very, very fond of him. He's a wonderful guy. If you go onto the NQA USA, you can download Michael Wynn, and that in itself is a whole, isn't it, John? I mean, he's just done so much in so many ways. He's just astonishing. But
prodigious, but lots of stuff, and maybe too much. So I say stick with your 8 extraordinary meridians. Much more streamlined, much more straightforward. I love the depth of the animals and the pearls and the fusion and so forth, and the planetary practices that all enhance inner alchemy. But again, it's all about quieting.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Appreciate your contribution.
I don't know if Ariel is still here.
I think I don't have much to contribute at the moment. I just coming back to the practice after a long time. I also, like John, I think, said, I really connected with what you wrote about energy, like underlying everything. I can really feel that in my own life. So yeah, I look forward to reading more from your work and practicing before I have, I guess, questions and things to surface to the group. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Over to you, darling. Wrap it up and sail it away.
Isn't it interesting how what John was talking about, let's not forget about delta, how delta as a biofeedback loop connects with gamma, and how our connection with you through Anna, and now as you could say, a founder of this Institute for the Awakened Mind, has started here and then it's gone around and it's connected again. So let me say that we just hope that you will come back on the show and maybe lead us in something. And we will also have some studies of our own brainwaves as we hook up and can share with you the effects that we've seen. And we thank you. Let me get it straight because I don't want to have a problem. It's the right hand, the left hand is over the right. Is the left hand over the right? Is that right?
Is it, try it. Next time you're in Chinatown, try it. Please get John Wise on this show. You will love him. He is absolutely an example, a manifestation of what it means to grow up with an awakened mind. And he's starting to realize it. You know, he was just a punk head trying to kind of like figure out what to do. But you would love John, and he would love you, and he would be delighted at what has happened with his mother's work that was the context of his life, you know. So, thank you very much. See you again, and look forward to it.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Jim.
Bye.
Hey, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.